Hi guys, I'm so excited. Today we have Isaac here, who is originally from Hong Kong. He's currently in Germany, and he's sharing with us his story about how he got from being totally scared and almost freaking out, moving from Hong Kong to his first time in London, and how he moved through this fear of moving abroad, traveling alone, and ending up finding a lot of friends abroad. So hi Isaac, I'm so excited. Do you quickly want to introduce yourself?
Yes, first of all, I find it really funny because you're also kind of from Germany, so I'm actually in your home country doing this chat here today with you. Yes, so long story short, I always want to go abroad. It's because I have this desire to try something new abroad. And when I finally got the chance, it was to London because it was a kind of a business trip. So still, it was a trip. I was really exciting about it. And I remember I arrived at 5 a.m. in London Heathrow Airport, which is really early. And it was not raining. So you can imagine London that it's not raining. So it's a beautiful day, everything is fine. Until when it comes to the evening time, like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, when I was on the subway, yeah. And I suddenly feel so frightening because I didn't prepare much before I moved abroad at that time. And then I feel like actually all the faces on the street look very different than my faces. The way they dress, the body language, everything is just different. And for the first time, I realized even though it's 7 o'clock, I cannot just go back home and say, hey, mom, I'm back home. You can't because you are there already. So you start to realize, oh, what should I do now? How can I adapt? How can I not be alone? So that was tough in the beginning.
What did you do that day
In the
after
beginning,
7 p.m.?
I feel really bad. So it was fun in the morning when I arrived because it's full of sunshine. And then, when it's dark and then you start to see familiar faces. So what do? I wasn't that brave at that time. So I just called my mom and I said, Mom, I want to go home, but I can't. So it was kind of embarrassing. At the time, I was almost 26 already. So, and then my parents just said, no, you have to stay there for at least 1 month for the trip. So keep going. So it was not really helping.
Not encouraging you at all. Wow.
Yeah. And I even had like a little bit tears on my eyes at that time. So, no matter how tough it is, I just went back to the hotel. I was even so afraid to go down to a restaurant to look for food, even though I think I would love fish and chips at that time, but I was so afraid. So instead, I just tried to find a supermarket, quickly buy a sandwich and go back to the hotel, and that's it.
What were you afraid of finding fish and chips or just going to a restaurant?
It's because when you're alone in a new country, and then if you go to a new restaurant, you feel like, oh, am I doing the right things? Am I ordering the right things? Am I doing something very different than the local people there? In the end, I feel like no one is judging you, but it's all internally in my heart that I feel like everyone is judging me. I must look so stupid. So I feel like I just want to cover my face and go back to the hotel. That's it.
I totally relate to that. That has happened to me as well. So you went back to the hotel, got your sandwich, and then how did you move on from there? How did you survive the month in London?
So the next day I start working in the office, and it's not getting any better because it's also a working environment. So you feel nervous because it's colleague, you want to perform professionally. And then that comes to a problem of the language barrier. Yes, I could speak English at that time. But the thing is, people in London are quite international. So when it comes to European names, I couldn't pronounce it. Like there's so many different kind of Scottish, Irish name I have never heard about. And imagine if someone just say, hey, can you go to the next desk and ask that person to give you something? And I was like, what name is that? I didn't even know how to pronounce it. So eventually I feel so bad, and someone, because of the misunderstanding, they even said, oh, I think you should improve your English. Yes, that was from my boss. I think he was just having a bad day. So when he said you should improve your English before you came here, that moment I thought I would never travel again. So I just went to the hotel and washed my face and say, okay, be strong, you have to work, something like that. But that night when I went back home, I was really, really in a bad mood. Yeah.
How did you manage to get out of this bad mood?
Something happened on the weekend because I don't have to work. So I just take the train to Cambridge University, which was my dream before to study there. And when I was there, I started seeing some familiar faces because after all, London is still quite international. So I saw some Asian students there, and they were having friends with, I guess, British people there. And I felt like, oh, as funny as it may seem, I thought, oh, that's actually possible. Like it is possible to have foreign
Mhm.
friends. So I thought, okay, so I'm not like an alien. I can do something similar. And that opens my mind a little bit to know that, hey, at least this is possible. The next question is how? Yeah.
How did you make it possible then?
At that time, I didn't make much progress. I just tell myself, okay, just relax and just take on the tour bus because I feel like once I'll be on this double deck tour bus, the
Mhm.
red color in London, you feel like everyone looks stupid because everyone is a tourist. So when I'm with tourists, I feel like, oh, now I'm just like these stupid people here. So no one is judging me. So that's the
Mhm.
initial step. Yeah. But overall, in that 1 month, as time goes by, you get, because of the cultural difference, but once you start talking to more people, you get used to it, even though there's a huge gap in terms of culture and manners and all that kind of thing. But once you take the first step, you talk to more people, you get more familiar. And then nowadays, when I think about this story, it's just for laughing.
Okay. So did you end up having an actual good experience in London, or did you end up saying, "Oh, this was terrible. I'm glad I made it through, but I'm never going to travel again. I'm never going to leave my country again."
Now that I have been abroad for almost 8 years in Germany now, I would say that it sounds like a cliche statement, but I think everything happened for a reason. If I didn't have that kind of flight and experience in London, then I wouldn't have all this transformation once I come back from London, which I would love to share with you and your audience because I hope that can help them. So what happened when I come back from the London trip back to Hong Kong? I start intentionally meeting foreign people. So I start asking them, hey, when I'm still in Hong Kong, but I ask if I want to meet more foreign people, what can I do? And they encourage me to go to Meetup where there's so many expats in Hong Kong, like
Mhm.
Europeans, American. So it was a 1 year journey for me. It sounds so crazy. What happened is that every single night, I went to a bar by myself and just talk to stranger. And I told myself for the first day, I just want to hold a conversation for 10 seconds. It doesn't matter what people said. I just want to stay there for 10 seconds. And then you keep building up. But of course, I know it sounds so crazy, but of course, you can also find some easy activity. Say, if you like wine, you can just go for a wine tasting event. It will, because you love that. So it's easier. And in this 1 year journey, of course, I can share so many things, but we don't have enough time. There's just one tips I think which is really useful. A lot of people feel like when you go to a public event or networking event, they feel like, oh, I don't know anybody there. So it's so frightening. I don't even want to get there. And most people don't want to be the first one to be in an event because they think maybe they should go later so that it's more crowded. But what I learned is that in fact it's better to be the first one there because when you arrive there to be the first one, you can talk to the host. And the host will always talk to you because he is preparing. So once you talk to the host, he will introduce other people to you. And when the second person arrives, let's say I'm in a public event, I didn't know you, Vivi, at all, and then you were the second person and you saw me. What will you do? You are forced to talk to me because I'm the only one person there. So it seems to be so natural. And eventually you get to know more people. That's what I have learned.
All right. Okay. I like that. So are you getting to know people now that when you arrived in Germany, you've been in Germany for a while now? How are you making friends?
When I first came to Germany, first of all, it was minus 15 degrees the first day. So
Wow, that rarely happens. You were really unlucky, I guess.
yeah, but it was a beautiful sunny day, so that's okay. But I was so cold, I couldn't even have the energy to talk to people. But because I was a student in Germany, so it makes things easier. So I would say it was a progress. I would say that because of the exercise I have in Hong Kong, slowly building me, taking baby steps to have the courage to talk to people. So when it comes to practical tips, I would say there are people, I think you mentioned that before, there are people who are so brave enough to talk to strangers on the street, but most of the people do not have such courage to talk to people on the street. So in that case, I actually find my first buddy. I would say like an ally. What it means is, so if you live in a student dormitory, you have your own roommate, and she or he will be the first person that can help you to bring you to the bigger social circle. Because when you become friend with that close person, you feel like, okay, now you have one single friend, and then if you go out to meet people, you invite him or her as well. It's so much easier than you just go alone.
Yeah, that's true. So now, is that how you made friends in Germany?
Well, now that I've been doing like here for 8 years, so I'm much more brave enough just to talk to people. And especially in Germany, if you have a delay in the Deutsche Bahn, the train system here, it's just so easy to say, "Oh my God, the train is delayed again," and people will talk to you because everyone is so irritated about the train service. So it's just a common topic, and then you can just sorry about this.
All right, we're directly getting into the German people complaining all the time about the terrible
Oops.
system of the Deutsche Bahn. Yeah, good topic.
But you don't have to find a negative things like that. But in general, when people are so into one certain topic, it can be something situational. Then it would be easier for me just to talk to them. And I know it's easier to said than done, especially if you come from a background like me, which is not so common to talk to strangers. But trust me, I was there before. And once you have taken the first step, you realize it's okay. There's nothing so much to be afraid of.
Yeah. Did you ever have a bad experience talking to people or trying to get to know someone?
Um, yes, yes,
Oh, you did. All right.
yes, of course.
You want to share it with us?
Yes, I can share with this, and I think you will laugh because since you're a girl and you can relate to this as well. So in university there are so many parties,
All
and
right.
so as a guy, I'm not really good at dancing because that's not in our culture. But I want to meet people, so I just go to parties with students, and of course, I don't know what happened. I was just complimenting someone, and I guess someone has a really bad day and just asked you to go away and just reject you right away. And trust me, I didn't even have any pickup line or anything. I just like compliment the way she looked, and that's it. And then she just asked me to, give me a kind of a middle finger and just go away. And at that time, I feel really bad because I took it so personally. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I thought must be something wrong with me or something like that. But then eventually I talked to my German friends and they said, yeah, oh, Isaac, you get rejected. Oh yeah, me too, high five. I got the same thing. And then we realized that maybe she just have a bad day. So it's nothing personal. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And you've also been to Australia, right?
Yes.
What happened in Australia?
So
Were you scared as well, or how long have you been there? What did you do there?
the Australian trip is really perfect because it's in between the time I came back from London and before I
Mm-hmm.
go to Germany. So it's kind of like a test before I really move abroad for a really long time. I went to Australia for the first time in my life that is completely alone, besides from business purpose. And I went there, I live in a hostel. I was so scared because, oh, this is going to be public. So how can I tell this to people? Okay, I don't care about it. That's okay. Um, I don't know why. So when I sleep, I think if I have some kind of alcohol and sometimes I snore a little bit. Okay, that's the thing I was afraid to tell, but fine. So
That's okay. A lot of people do.
okay, so because I know that I will be snoring a little bit, so I was like, oh my God, am I staying in a hostel with like a room with 8 person? I don't want them to be angry at me. So that was the reason I didn't want to live in hostel, but I don't want to be alone. So I live there. Eventually, it was a really wonderful journey because I realized I wasn't the only one that is snoring, so no one can hear my snoring. Yeah. So first lesson learned: there's always some people who share similar features like you, so you will never be the first one. And
Mm-hmm.
in that hostel, I was expecting to meet a lot of Australian people, but guess what? I think you know the answer. Guess who I am meeting every single day? Germans in Australia.
Everywhere. Terrible.
Um, and it was wonderful because they were really nice to me because my roommate is a German guy from Hamburg, and we start talking, like I said, like my ally at all. So he introduced me to all the other Germans. So eventually the Germans were really nice and they taught me how to ride a bicycle on a public road with cars in Australia. And that cycling tour is turning point of my life that I realized actually once you have one good friend to introduce you to all other friends, and I didn't feel scared anymore because, for example, Vivi, imagine you, have you ever been to China or Asia before?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine you're in Thailand, okay, but in a really local place where there are no any Europeans there. Imagine you are the only white person or Caucasian person there. you will feel so scared because all the other people, no one share the same mother tongue as you. And for me at that time, hang out with all the Germans, sometimes they speak German, but mostly English, but still, no one speaks Chinese to me. And I was so scared at that time because you are completely alone. But then I realized when everyone is having fun and when you just willing to share how you feel, you can even tell them, hey, oh my God, everyone is German here. I feel uncomfortable. And they say, no, it's okay. Germans are so friendly. And that changed my experience.
Okay. That is a really cool story. Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that when I'm somewhere where no one speaks my language or I don't speak the language, it is a different experience, especially when people like stare at you because they're not familiar with like how you look. And especially that I'm really tall, I tend to intimidate a lot of people. Because, Asians tend to be quite short. I'm, like, pretty tall, and everyone just, like, stares at me like, who's that person? Where's that person coming from? So the funny thing is, I don't really get scared, but I tend to intimidate people.
Ah, okay. So it's the other way around.
It's the other way around, yeah. It's kind of making me feel safe as well, just because, my head is, like, a level above them, so I kind of get to observe everyone. And everyone's
Okay.
like looking up to me. So it's a very funny experience, yeah.
How tall are you actually?
186.
Wow, that's really tall. I didn't expect that when I look at you like at this level here.
It's not that tall, but it's like taller than like most Asian people or South American people. So people tend to like react or like come up to me and like ask me for pictures. So for me, it's really easy to connect with people because they could just naturally come. They're curious, like, who's that person? I want to talk to that person. Which sometimes can be a little bit annoying, but obviously like in first world countries, it's not really that open and people don't just like come up to you and like, hey, I want to be your friend or I want to talk to you. So
I
yeah, it
see.
can be a little bit different.
And I think if I were you, which I can never be, but I think I would also be scared because if you're so tall, you feel like you're always on the spot. People could always be looking at you, right?
That's true. I don't really care anymore because I know most people are so busy minding their own business. They're so in their own world that everyone who has like, I don't want to say a proper life, but everyone who has something to do with their life, they're not really minding what you're doing too much. Or even if they notice and they judge you, then let them judge. No one who's above you or who's doing better than you or like doing better, cooler stuff than you is judging you for anything. So I don't really care anymore.
That's a good mindset. It took me a while to really think like that, but I guess because when I first moved to Germany, nobody knows me, so I feel much more open. I don't have to worry people judge on me because who are they? I don't even know them. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had this experience once. I got myself into a really bad situation in South Africa, in Johannesburg, where I ended up by accident in a local train that is definitely not for white people. That's definitely not very safe. And obviously, like, you stand out because you don't look like these other people. And they even told me, like, what are you doing here? It's not safe for you. So that was kind of a weird experience because you cannot hide. Like, you're exposed and everyone can see you and everyone knows where you're going.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
But other than that, it's all easy. So do you want to share like maybe one or two more tips on how to handle fear, how to drive yourself through fear, lead yourself through fear when you're in the situation?
You mean when you were traveling alone abroad?
Yeah, when you're traveling alone and you're like, holy shit, I don't know what to do right now. I just feel like I want to go home. I don't have any friends here. I feel alone. I don't want to even go out and have dinner. I just want to hide in my room, but also I kind of want to go home and everything sucks and help.
Okay. Yes, I can share this experience. So once I arrived in Germany, I realized that to make more friends with Germans is actually invite them for some activities. And I know that most people do not take that initiative. It's like, okay, you meet someone in a networking event or in a bar or in a party, that's very normal. But rarely people afterwards, they don't really contact you. And I was the person that I actually asked, hey, you know what, it was nice talking to you and let's continue the story and let's go for coffee or cake, something like that. So there was a time that a German roommate invited me to his birthday party. And I knew that it were all with Germans that were speaking German. And that time my German was not good enough. So I was so afraid. And I think a lot of people can relate to that because you really want to make more local friends when you're being abroad. And you got the chance now, you got the invitation. But then you feel like, oh no, I don't know any of these people. Really, should I go or not? Yeah, something like that. Of course, I can say just go for it, right? But it's not that easy. So you have to embrace that. No matter what you think, you always have this fear, going or not going. But let me ask you this one question, at least from my own experience. No matter how many times you feel like, oh, it's going to be so bad, I'm so afraid. But eventually, I think like 90% of the time, when you come back from that birthday party or any invitation, rarely do you come back home and say, oh, you know what, that party sucks. I really hate it. I would never go there. No, actually, most of the time, 90% of the time, you feel like, oh, I'm so glad I went for it. I met so many new people, interesting people. So when you think about that statistics, you will know that it's much better for you to go because there's so many things to gain. And now, so let's talk about what if you really went there and you realize that no one is talking to you and you feel so scared. So everyone is talking to someone else, just you were being alone. So in that case, I would say just go get a drink. Because once you get a drink,
get yourself drunk.
no, I don't mean getting drunk. What I mean is get a drink and start doing this cheers thing. Because I think it's a kind of a social thing, you know, it's like you're giving offering your hand for handshaking. No one, unless he is a really bad person, no one is going to reject you for the handshake. And once you go to a group politely and just say, hey guys, cheers. I know it sounds weird, but trust me, once you do this social activity, people will cheers to you and you break the barrier already. That is something I would suggest.
I like that. I notice for myself when I'm like, I don't want to go somewhere and I feel like no one's talking to me, I'm like kind of out of place. It's mostly has something to do with my energy that I'm like either in a bad mood or I'm like kind of like closing myself off and have like a resting bitch face, like don't talk to me. That is why people don't talk to you. So what I try to do if I'm in the mood and I actually want to talk to people, I just start smiling. And I just start standing or sitting there, just really smiling, being happy, and just like looking people, making eye contact and smiling. And then people automatically come to you and talk to you because they're like, hey, like you look super nice. Like, what's your story? Or who are you? Or where are you from? And I don't really like the question where are you from, but it gets people to talk to you when you like make eye contact and you just smile and you just like open. I'm pretty introverted, so I don't always go up and talk to people. I kind of like, not always wait, but it depends. Like I don't really go up to guys and talk to them because I don't want them to get like a wrong impression or something. So just stand there and smile. And even if nothing happens, like it makes the whole experience better. Just standing there by yourself, just smiling, and something good will come up eventually. And it always turns out that way.
I love you brought about this topic because I think I read, I watched a video before, like how body language actually changes your emotion, like how you standing tall with shoulders back makes you much more confident. And this is a very interesting topic because in Asia, I know we are talking about so many stereotypes here, but at least from my father, he once told me not to show emotions. Don't show emotion on your face because you will let the people know what you're thinking. I know it's a really traditional kind of thinking. And I notice a lot of Asians also have this kind of habit. Maybe you see that when you're in Asia. And here's the thing. If you go for a party in a Western world, let's say in Germany, if you just don't show your emotion, even though you could be extremely happy, but you don't show your emotion, people think you're upset or something and they don't want to talk to you. So it's good you mentioned that once you start smiling, it will be easier for people to talk to you.
Yeah. It opens up like a complete different world when you're just open, friendly, making eye contact and smiling. Like the whole world changes. And I experienced that so many times and I was like, I'm hating the situation, I'm hating this place, I'm hating everyone and everything right now. It is not because of anything around me, it's because of me. And if I simply change my emotion and I just start smiling, I would just like start looking, changing the way I look at things, it changed everything.
Okay, so I guess when you wake up in the morning, you smile first every single day, right?
I'm giving my best. Most of the time, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because that is really like, who would you want to connect with? Like, who would you start talking to first? A person that's just standing there, like being insecure, like looking on the floor or like playing with their phone, or someone looking around, being confident and smiling? Who would you walk up to first?
Well, like I said, if I see a girl is smiling, of course, I will talk to the girl that is smiling.
Exactly. So it just opens up everything, and it
Yeah,
makes everything so much better.
I
That's for
hope
me
that,
the easiest thing.
yeah, I really hope that people can get rid of this cultural barrier just to show the emotion. Yeah,
I wasn't really a person that showed emotions. Like my mom always tells me that story when I was a kid. Like they used to put me onto these, like, how do you call them? You know, like roller coasters and stuff. And I was just having this resting face, or like, I'm not enjoying this at all. And they wanted to like get me off, and I was like, no, I want to stay here. She's like, what's happening? She's
yeah,
not looking like, it doesn't seem like she's happy. Like, why does she not want to leave? What's wrong with her? I never showed emotion until I was like 18 or 19. I was like, unless like
okay,
bad emotions. Like if I'm getting angry, like everyone knows I'm angry. Not anymore, because I notice it doesn't get us anywhere.
okay. So it
So you
also
can,
takes you a while, yeah,
I think it's just a conscious choice of knowing that once I allow myself to show emotion, once I allow myself to feel my emotions as well, my experience of how I experience life shifts.
yeah, true,
How I experience myself kind of determines as well how others experience me.
yeah,
And obviously, yeah, you want to be more friends with a person that you can connect with a person that is open, friendly, nice, than with a person who's just like, I don't freaking give a shit about anything and I hate everything, you know? Like if you never show emotions, like it's kind of sad. It's like you really want to connect with a person that is easy to make that person happy, right?
and people can relate to you because when you show emotion, then they know you are normal and natural. If you're always so serious, people can open to you.
Yeah, so much easier to connect with an open person. And even it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. I feel for extrovert it's so much easier to connect with people because they just naturally walk up to you and talk to you about whatever. But as an introvert, like just showing emotions and just being really present and observing what's going on around you is really one of the easiest things to do.
Cool.
Yeah. Any final words that you want to say? Any final advice that you want to give to this world?
Yes, a lot. So I think we should make another one.
All right, that sounds good. Sure. So let's plan for another time that we'll have you on. And thank you so much for sharing all your stories, all your wisdom, all your experiences. And where can people find you?
They can find me on my YouTube channel. It's called Live Wherever You Want. I will put the link somewhere here later on, or you can put the link there. I don't know. Yeah,
In the description.
exactly. Yeah. So I just want to inspire more people that if they coming from a more traditional or conservative culture, that they can still go abroad and live their dream life.
Perfect.
And I want to say thank you. It was an honor to be invited by you as well. And thank you so much for your country. It changes my life completely.
Thank you so much. I loved having you on. I'm excited to have you back.